Hello there, I'm Jack, and right now I'd like to talk about war. It's a big topic, very controversial because people's lives are at stake, and that's a very touching thing because we care about these people and they're doing something. They're putting their life on the lines, on their lines for our sake. So that's a very precious gift. But people ask me about war, and when I don't promote it like others do, they seem to get offended by it in some way, and the intensity varies between person depending on their attachment to war. But what I want to shed light on is not necessarily wars we should fight, because essentially we all want to fight different wars. So when someone asks me, how do I feel about war, first thing I ask them is, which one? Because there are some wars that I feel like were necessary and other wars I feel like are unnecessary. So if I were to fight, then I would pick and choose, rather than constantly engaging in war. As soon as someone says war, yeah, I'm gonna go fight it. It's just like, it's a very masculine perception. It's just like, the dominant males that just say, put a challenge in front of me and I'll do it. Doesn't matter what it is. I just want to know that I can win. But we can't fight every war. And so, that being said, since we can't fight every war, we have to really sink into what we feel as necessary. And it just kind of gets frustrating because I feel like people engage in war, or in the notion of war, just so we can be titled as the victor, as the hero. But the reality of that, though, is kind of a buzzkill for people. And this is where people have a hard time with what I'm about to say in terms of war, because the way I see war is, I see it as conflict, and I see conflict as duality, dynamics, and I see dynamics and duality as energy. So, can energy essentially be war? It just depends on how you want to view it. But that's what I see as conflict. I see a relationship. I see two opposing sides, opposites attract, North and South Pole, and positive and negative, masculine and feminine, good and evil. And so I see those two, and it's all based on perception, or it starts off with perception. So essentially, someone does something, I want to view it a certain way. Someone else does something, or a group of people do something, out of love for something. So they love something, that they love their country, they love their religion, they love their family, their friends, and so they go attack because they feel like, let's say, Americans are unhealthy, they are lethal, or we are lethal. So of course they're going to try and protect their nation. Us over here, Americans, we view them as lethal, as unhealthy for this planet, or for us. And so we view them the same way. And we say, you need to die because you're unfit for what we want in this world. And they're saying the same exact thing about us. We're both pointing the fingers at each other, and we both feel like, they feel like they're the good side, and we feel like we're the good side, and we see them as the bad guys, and they see us as the bad guys. So really, is there a conflict? This is the thing that just bugs me, when people are like, is this right or wrong? And I'm just like, get over it. Realize we're both right and wrong. We're both fighting about the same thing, and that's love. That's the unconditional love. Everything we do, on American side, on whoever else we're fighting, and whatever time, they're fighting out of love too. We're all fighting out of love. Yet we're doing the opposite of love. Hate. And that's probably the most frustrating thing. You know, we're fighting for peace. And so, you know, people are like, isn't that the whole point of war, is to end war? And I'm just like, how do you not see it? How do you not see that using war to end war is not going to end war? So it's just going to keep us going in a cycle. And we just keep going round and round and round because the conflict continues. As long as there is a hero, there will be a villain at that same level that's going to fill in that empty space, because that's all it is, just empty space, and there's no such thing as empty space. So in order to name a hero, we need to have a villain, and vice versa. So the two need each other in order to create that conflict, in order to create the war and the relationship that the two are learning. So really, it looks disastrous from one state, but it's a very beautiful thing, because we, in conflict, in fighting, we can learn some very intimate things about the other. So that's another side that people don't want to look at in war. The two sides that hate each other, they love each other. That's how much they love each other. They want to learn these two things that much. You know, they want to show the other how much this means to them, whatever it is they're fighting for. And that's what we do when we fight. So when I fight with someone, I say, look at how much this means to me, and I want you to see that. I love you so much, I want you to see that. And they do the same for us. They say, look at how much this means to me, and I want to show you, I want to show that to you. And so essentially, that's what relationship is. So we're creating a relationship. Yeah, it may not be off of agreement, at least on this level, but that's what we're doing. At some point, we're going to wake up and we're going to see, wow, that's what they were fighting for, and I had no idea. I had no idea. And then the opposite will do the same. But really the question is, when does that happen? When do we actually see, or when does that conflict diffuse? And so I like to use analogies in terms of energy, because conflict is energy. And so I have a nice dry erase board right here. Bam. So here is conflict. We have positive and negative, and that center line is neutrality. So on this top side we have good, and then we have evil, because we normally say positivity is, positivity is the crest, negativity is trough. And so notice that one side will say positivity is good. Those are the good guys. We need to fight for positivity, be positive all the time. And then we look at the other side as saying negative. Stay away from negativity. They're bad guys. You don't want to mess with them. All they'll do is ruin your day or life. But here's how this works. So as soon as we favor one side more than the other, we create a pressure on one side, automatically creating another pressure on the other side. And that's why there will always be a villain to fill in that space. Because as soon as we want to claim to be the good guys, there will be someone to claim to be the other guys. Doesn't matter if they're bad or claim to be bad. They're probably claiming to be the good guys too. So we can even name this side positive and that side negative. You know, it doesn't really matter. So this is a 2D expression. This is two-dimensional, flat surface. Two-dimensional expression of energy. This is more 3D. So you can see taking this and turning it at an angle, creating some depth. We see a spring. It'd be like a slinky. Stretch out a slinky. And we can see a spiral because now it's oscillation, which is positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. But now we have depth because it's moving through space and time. And so this is the last expression that I want to show, which is a vortex of energy. So with this vortex of energy, we can see it's like the spring spiraling in one direction, but also counter spiraling in the other direction. And so if you want to look at it this way, you have one point on one side and 1 point on the other side, but they're holding hands in this line in between it all. And they're holding hands and they're spiraling around each other. And so the two in conflict are seeing each other eye to eye. But we can't see outside of the tornado, outside of this vortex of energy, because we're inside of it. We're the ones creating it. It takes two to tango. It takes two to make a circle. Because if you just have one, there's no duality, there's no difference. So that's how you make a tornado. You have high pressure and you have low pressure, and it creates a tornado. An experience, essentially, is what I call it, a relationship. So without the other, there would be no relationship to experience. Once we realize that we're equal, that it takes a hero to make a villain and a villain to make a hero. Once we realize that situation, that there really is no conflict, or there doesn't have to be. We're the ones making the conflict about what we're making it about. So when we realize that, what we're fighting about, and why the other is completely righteous in what they're fighting for, and why we're completely righteous in what we're fighting for, once we both realize that and shift that energy in us, we break that. We break the cycle. Because we've been fighting wars over and over again. We've been fighting over pretty much the same crap. You know, isn't it about time we see it? Isn't it about time we see what war is? So we're fighting about the same crap and it's spinning round and round and round. Yeah, our wars are getting a little different. So we're learning something. But we're still fighting. And I won't even get into that. But once we realize that we're equal in this fight, and we want to empathize, which is feeling into the other side, and once they want to empathize and feeling into our side, why we're fighting for what we're fighting for, then essentially that's when the tornado and the vortex of energy diffuses, because that's how a tornado goes away. High and low pressure, once they equalize, there's no more tornado. So that's what equality is. When we realize the equality in it, there's no more vortex of energy to engage in. So it's just like whenever we get caught up in a fight, what happened most of the time? Normally someone came across our path and then they said something and we just had to engage. And that's what that is. It was one side of a two-part energy. One side of a two-part energy. And so we created the vortex and we fought and we fought and we fought to show them how we're just as much a part of this as they are. But we just didn't see it at the time. But that's what I want to show. I want to show the equality. That's how we get over conflicts. We get over conflicts through seeing the equality. But most of the time we don't see the equality. We can see it on smaller levels, more local levels. You know, fights don't have to be so necessary. We choose to engage in these fights, but usually those are small things. Those are more local things. But once we start getting bigger and bigger and bigger with these things, with these conflicts, we see them as being necessary. There's no other option. Yeah, there might be no other option because that's all we see, because we are in the tornado. And that's the most important thing. When there's no other option than fighting or engaging in the conflict automatically, that means we need to hash it out. So the people fighting today, yes, we're hashing it out. And at the intensity that we need to hash it out. But I feel like there's a shift coming. And it's already happening. And it's been happening. But it keeps happening. That's the thing. So there's that shift in energy. And then we're seeing more of that tornado, more of that vortex. And we're moving down closer together. So the conflict, we're seeing how equal we actually are. And as we get closer and closer to the other side, we're realizing, wow, we're not so different. You know, we're actually one. We need each other. And as we realize more and more of that, we get down to the core, which is singularity. No division. That's that neutral line. No division. But once we create division, separation between you and me, that means duality. That means conflict. That means vortex of energy to engage in. So, what can we do with this? I just showed you a visual diagram of that, but we can still feel that. We can still feel the vortex of energy between people. Just someone walking down the street and we engage in that energy or disengage for whatever reason. So realizing more energies on, let's say, human levels, so human interactions, human egos, energies. Once we realize those energies in people, we can start picking and choosing our battles, saying, I'm going to engage in this. I want to play this game, because that's all it is, it's a game. Or I don't want to play this game, because we do it in sports. You know, we'll say, yeah, I'll play that sport, but not that sport. There's something about this sport I like, something about this sport I don't like. And we do that on so many different levels, not just with sports, but I'm just using it as an example. So there's something about this that we're choosing, something about that we're not choosing. So once we realize more of our own energy and what we feel like is the point of life, that's how we choose to engage in these conflicts. And when we do that, war is such a different thing. Conflict is such a different thing. It doesn't have to be so ugly. And I'm not trying to say ugly people are bad, but you know what I mean. So I just wanted to spread that, and I want people to start realizing what war is on a deeper level than just simply, you disagree, alright, and then that's it. Because really killing someone is leaving the conflict still spinning. Because that energy is still in this universe. You know, ego isn't just in a human body. And that's something we also really need to get over. I didn't think I was going to get into that in this video, but now I'm talking reincarnation. I'm talking physical bodies versus metaphysical bodies. So when we live in these physical bodies, we have egos about ourselves. But it's not just in this body. It's not like once my body's done and I'm dead, that ego and that energy is just gonna disappear, because I'm gonna come right back. I'm gonna pull other matter into existence in another body, and that feeling of fighting for whatever it is that I'm fighting for is going to come right back, and I'm just gonna continue the fight. And so I don't stop the fight until I learn what I'm fighting about and why they're right too. I'm right and they're right. But at this time right now in my body, I don't feel that. And so that's why I have to go fight. But if I kill someone, they don't learn it. All they learn, it's actually the easiest way to get out of that situation. You know, so the whole execution thing in prisons, all they're doing is they're just killing someone without them really learning on a soulful level. We're just killing them. And yeah, maybe they learn it right on the spot, you know, right before, minutes before, and they have this huge epiphany. So they're one step closer to diffusing this energy. But you know, for the next life. But if we just kill someone, you know, someone's robbing our house and we just immediately kill them, that's what we choose. You can do whatever you want. This is your life. But if you really want them to learn, then there are different ways of going about it. But obviously in that situation, you're going to go about it however you want to. I'm not saying I wouldn't do the same thing. So I don't even know, because it hasn't happened. But all I'm saying, in terms of really wanting the other, you know, that we're fighting with, and really wanting them to see what we're seeing, it's not by killing them like mainstream religion does and has been doing for years, millennia. You know, we're killing in the name of peace. Nuts. So there are ways of going about it. And like I said, if we take them out before they actually really feel into it in their essence, they're not learning, and they're going to come right back and they're going to be doing the same things, and we're going to repeat the cycle until we learn it. That's why wars have been going on and on and on, because they're endless cycles. Just like that spring, it just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning. Because we just keep fighting, we keep killing, and people keep blindly dying without really seeing what they're doing and what the other's doing. So that's really all I wanted to make note of in this video, and I hope you can take something away from it. And it doesn't have to be on a big level, even just daily conflicts with friends and family and strangers. You know, if we realize the conflict at play, the duality, the ego at play, that's creating the vortex of energy, because that's all it is, two to tango. So it's a vortex of energy where two things have to spin around each other, and we have to be a part, or one part of that two-part system in order for it to exist. So take that and go off in your conflicts. I'm not saying avoid conflicts. Like I said, it's a battle. You pick and choose. Because there's some things I feel like fighting for and some things I don't feel like fighting for. But I'm not going to fight just to fight. And so there's some conflicts I'm just like, I can shut my mouth about them now. And I used to have to engage all the time. But now I've started to see where they lead and what they're fighting for. And I'm just like, I agree with you, man. I get what you're fighting for. I know what that feels like. And I know what the other side feels like too. And so I feel both sides in myself, and there's no more tornado. And they don't have anyone to play with. So as long as I give them someone to play with, they're going to play. But if they try to fight with me about something, and I say, yeah, you're right, and I'm also right, they're just like, I don't even know what to do with that. He's not playing by the rules. The rules say, I'm right and you're wrong, and vice versa, and that's how we fight. That's a debate. But he's saying, I'm right and he's also right. So that's just nuts. And so there's no more fight, you know? So I'm not saying do that with everything, because like I said, we want to fight about some things, and that's what love is. That's what relationship is. I want to show you my side that much. So thank you. This was more of a spontaneous video than the others, just because of a couple things that happened. But yes, if you felt into this, please leave comments and questions and subscribe. And thank you.